Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a carry tier list for patch 7.31D, and as always when I do these lists, I will be doing one for each role over the next few days, and as always as well, I get my data from Dota2ProTracker.com, as well as the trends tab in the client here, or Dota buff statistics, those kinds of things, and I also look at the DPC in general to see, what pro teams are picking and how they're winning and those kinds of things as well. I generally watch DPC as well, but I just look at the statistics to arrive at, my list here, and then I kind of put in some subjective stuff as well, what I feel in general, and it should be like a pub list. This is not supposed to be for, pro games, although I do look at the meta of high MMR games to, determine it, but it's a little bit more of just a pub list in general. So in any case, that's how I arrive at the list. And obviously there is some subjectivity in here because you might see a hero somewhere around here that is, maybe not supposed to be there, you would think. But hey, it's a viable hero. I will explain it when we get there. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of me now. Obviously there's subjectivity here, but listen, I'm going to put the heroes where I want to put them. So don't yell at me. Don't complain. But anyway, let's just get into this list. Let's go to S tier first. First, we're going to take a look at Juggernaut, and that is pretty much the hero, the carry hero of the patch right now, I think, is Juggernaut. He's just really good. He's being picked in like 25-30% of pubs, something like that. This hero is absolutely insane right now. It's not really crazy for anything other than, the same way that Jug has always been good, for the same reasons Jug is decently, been viable kind of here and there, pretty much through all MMRs for almost all of Dota. Like, he's never an absolutely awful hero. It's just that sometimes he's just not as good because he doesn't do anything super well, compared to other heroes. He farms pretty well. He does decent damage. He has decent lane. Like, he does everything decently. But now the one thing that has changed, or the one thing that makes him really more viable, is he's not really focused on his ultimate anymore to deal damage and to be a threat. Where before it was like all about Omni Slash, and then kind of just right clicking in Omni Slash. Like, basically Blade Fury as a spell fell off a little bit once you got into the later portions of the game. Like, this was mainly a laning stage ability plus a BKB to like get out of, spells or to split push, these kinds of things. But now this hero is all about Blade Fury. Like, you don't have to rely on your Omni Slash or even the Swift Slash from Ags, although those things are good. You don't have to rely on them anymore. This hero, with the Shard, with going Maelstrom, you just do absolutely insane damage, plus the talent tree with all of the Blade Fury talents. Like, you can just melt heroes, especially early on. Like, you have this 15 to 20 minute timing where you are just stronger than almost any carry in the game. You do obviously great damage with Omni Slash as always, and your crit as always, and then you have this great healing pushing ability with Healing Ward and Roche ability with Healing Ward. But then this Blade Fury ability is just now so good with the Maelstrom, so good with the Shard, with the talent tree, like I said. Just, that is the thing I think that pushes this hero over the edge, and you can just pick this hero in pretty much every game. Like, you could probably first pick this hero in every game and be viable. Like, it's just that good. It's being played in pros, all those kinds of things. Now, the next hero we're going to take a look at is Bristleback. So Bristleback is kind of an interesting one because he was nerfed recently, in maybe not the most recent patch, but like in past patches, he was a pretty good offlaner. He had some good builds, and then he kind of fell out of favor. People didn't really like him. But now he's kind of come back more as a carry hero, and that's because this hero is kind of all focused around this timing where you have your Ags, you deal a ton of damage, you're just unstoppable. And you may have noticed in the A tier, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but Alchemist has come back. And so a lot of what is going to be happening in this meta, even though the 7.31D patch wasn't that big, the big thing that's happened is that Alchemist has come back. Alchemist is now a hero. And so just in general, with whether he's in the game or not, people are picking around Alchemist. Like, in pro games, or just, will an Alchemist be picked? I need to be faster paced. And Bristleback is one of these heroes that is fast paced. He's also a hero like Timbersaw, like some of these heroes where they have this mid-game timing between 10, 20, 25 minutes that you just can't kill them. Like, they're just so unstoppable. So if you pick Bristleback as a carry into a game, you farm for the first few minutes, 12, 13 minutes. You just hit this timing. You get your Ags, maybe you have Vanguard Ags, whatever it is. And then you just kind of can run around the map with your team and just dominate the game. And if the enemy picked some greedy hero, some greedy carry that wants to just farm, you're going to be playing a 4-on-5 with this Bristleback hero that's just unkillable, does insane damage with his ultimate, can just like right click you and bash you to death. Like, it's just, this hero is absolutely ridiculous. And so that's why this hero is becoming more of a like viable carry. And obviously his lane is very good too because he plays off lane as well. So his laning is great. He can farm fairly quickly, and then he gets this timing, which is just so unstoppable. Now, obviously, that requires some team coordination. So if you're going to be picking this in low MMR pubs, just realize that's kind of how the hero is good. So I'm putting him up here because of that, but I just don't know that he's going to be all that great in your lower MMR pubs. But if you can manage to get your team to group up around that 15-minute timing or whenever you get your ags and, those good item timings, you will just absolutely dominate the game. You will push down all these towers. Nobody can deal with you. He's a very, very good hero in that way. And then next we have Faceless Void. So Faceless Void, actually, there's nothing really special to say about this hero. This hero is just very good right now. This hero for the last year or so has always been in the A or B tier. If you just look back at my tier lists in general, this hero's always been decent. It just never has been as good as, let's say, Chaos Knight or Medusa or some of these other heroes that have been really good. It's just never been the top, far and away best hero, but it's always been decent. And now because of all those other heroes getting nerfed, this hero has kind of taken its spot up there with, a lot of those other heroes that are just really, really good right now. It's getting picked a ton. It's winning a lot. It kind of does a little bit of everything. It has decent laning stage, very hard to play against. In other tier lists, I may have mentioned that now, with your time walk, with your ags, all these different things give this hero like a lot more flexibility on what you can do. You can obviously buy Refresher. You have 2 ultimates. That's always going to be good in every single game. 2 chronos or late game, it's just always going to be viable. And now also you have your 25 backtrack talent that just allows you to be so tanky, and there's almost nothing they can do about it. So this hero can just scale really well, is very good overall. So he's just a very, very solid pick you can't go wrong with. And then lastly for S tier, we have Ursa. And Ursa, again, fast-paced, good laning, can just dominate games by like taking very quick Roches early on. You can get like 2 Roches in the first 18 minutes. It's just maybe even 15 minutes. It's absolutely insane how fast you can play with this hero. But then you can also in lower MMRs, if you want to farm, if you want to do more damage and scale, you can also go for Battle Fury. He has that Battle Fury build as well as the Diffusal with the Mask of Death build that's a little bit more fast-paced. And so because he's so fast-paced, he's very good, again, against something like an Alchemist where, Alchemist wants to just be farming. Some of these heroes just want to farm for 20 minutes, and if the enemy picks one of those, you can group up with your team, kind of like Jug can, kind of like Bristleback can, and you can just, take Roche, push down towers, be unkillable, be hard to stop, do tons of damage, and you always have a good laning stage almost all the time. So that's Ursa. It's just that all these heroes, like these 3 heroes, Bristleback, Void, and Ursa, are just good, solid, decent carries that have very good early game timings. Faceless Void, not as much, but his chrono's always going to be good, and he scales really well. He's just solid overall. There's nothing too special about them. Juggernaut is the one that has kind of changed up a little bit with his Maelstrom and his Shard and these kinds of things, his Blade Fury build, but he's still just good for all the reasons Jug is good in general. And all these heroes are decent early game. They're decent at kind of putting pressure on the enemy team against heroes like Alchemist. And so if we go to our A tier here, we see Alchemist is the first hero. I didn't put Alchemist in S tier. Mainly because it is an Alchemist patch, but he's just not like the best right now. Like he can be countered. You can pick these other heroes that are stronger, and you can, destroy him in games. He's not always going to be the best. In fact, he's almost getting picked in some ways as an offlaner a lot more now, which is kind of crazy. But Alchemist is good for Alchemist reasons. But the big thing that happened is this hero now has a stun. His Unstable Concoction has been buffed to the point where you can actually get this ability early and you can just dominate lanes with it. In the past, his laning stage was bad. In the past, he was just, a farmer. Now, with getting Unstable Concoction level 1, level 2, level 3, whenever you get it, you're going to get 1 point in lane at least, and you're just going to be able to dominate lanes. You can cast so many of these abilities or so many of these stuns. If you stun a guy on top of Acid Spray and you have a support with you that also stuns them and you just start right-clicking them, or the creeps right-click them as well, like you're going to do insane damage. This hero's actually a really good laner now, which in the past he wasn't. So that's the big change, where they were just kind of slowly buffing this stun, and now it's just really good. It makes this hero such a good laner. So that's why Alchemist has come back into the patch, because he is a good laner now, and now you just have to play and structure your lineups around Alchemist or a potential Alchemist all the time. So that's Alch. And the next one is TA. TA is this kind of classic carry that was a mid and now can still be played mid a little bit, but also is played carry that, I think there was one patch where Medusa and TA were like the heroes of the patch for carry. And TA just kind of got some nerfs. I think that was like a year ago. And TA's been getting nerfed a little bit, but just not as heavily. And so TA's never been, the best hero in the patch, I don't think. Maybe like a couple months ago before the 7.31D, TA might have been the best hero. But besides that, this hero's always been kind of good and just hasn't got enough nerfs to put it down below like in some of those other tiers. I think it's still a really, really good hero. It's getting picked a lot. Has a good win rate. Overall, it's just a decent, solid hero. So nothing too special to say about that. Dawnbreaker is a new one here, though. Dawnbreaker has kind of come into fruition and come back into the fold, mainly because Dawnbreaker and Marcy now being in captain's mode. The pros have just tried to figure out, are these heroes good? Are they viable? And it seems like Dawnbreaker is literally viable in every single position. You can literally play this hero 1 through 5. As a carry, it's very good because you have a decent laning stage. You're very, very tanky. You get that free BKB with your shard, basically. And then you can just go like BKB, and you can go Desolator and AC, and you can literally like one-shot people in your queue, in your Starbreaker. You just literally jump on top of them. You press Starbreaker. You have BKB during Starbreaker. They can't literally do anything to you unless they have like Black Hole or something. And then you just delete heroes with that minus armor. And it's largely, I think, because they did buff this hero. They buffed this hero's passive. Before this hero's passive, it almost felt like irrelevant. Like it felt like it didn't do anything. And now it feels like it's actually super impactful. Like I've seen people in one Starbreaker heal from like 10% HP all the way up to full with this new talent that's actually, or with this new passive that's actually decent. So I think that's one of the big things. This hero is actually viable at every single position, has lots of team fight control, team fight save, has that free BKB, stun, mobility, like damage, tankiness. It just does a little bit of everything, which is really, really good. And then lastly, the one you've all been waiting for, we have Pudge. And believe it or not, Pudge has been played as a carry. This hero has been played as a carry. That's insane. Who would ever have thought that this hero would become a carry in the current year? I think a lot of people thought when they changed the passive that it was pretty bad, and I think it was kind of bad back then, but now that they buffed it, it pretty much blocks all the damage from Rot, and even the Ag's Rot, I believe, for the most part. Plus all this damage over time that you'll be taking from any spells, you just can get so tanky. You can legitimately become a carry, and you also have a good early game timing. You just need like Vanguard or Hood and Ags, and you just run around. As long as you get some stacks and some kills, you can just run around and just absolutely destroy people. You can put 1 level in Hook, max out your other abilities, and it's so hard to deal with this hero. This hero is being played in every core position. It's being played carry, it's being played mid, it's being played off lane. It's just really viable right now. Now, it's not the best. It actually shouldn't be A, probably, but I'm putting it in A because this hero is viable. People are playing it. People are winning and crushing with it. I'm putting it in A because it deserves to be an A. It deserves to have some love because everyone loves this hero anyway. It's being played all the time, and I think it's just like, let's just say this hero is very good, and it's awesome, and I just want to put it up here because literally this hero is always in F tier, so I just want to put it up here. Okay, don't yell at me, but it is good. It's not maybe A tier, maybe it's B, but like it's still pretty good. So let's just leave it at that. Pudge is decent right now. And next we'll move on to B tier. These are all just like solid picks. You can't really go wrong with these picks. They're decent. They've been really good in the past, just got some nerfs. CK was really, really good in the past, probably the carry of the patch, a patch ago. Just got nerfed, not as good, but still decent. Same thing with Monkey King, has been viable and good for a long time. Just some nerfs, just some changes, not the best, but still pretty good. Sniper is kind of the new one. Sniper probably was F tier if this was even a carry hero in the past, more of a mid, but I probably had it in the carry list just very low. But now, just with the small buffs here and there, like this hero is very hard to deal with now because you have this shard that disarms people, it's a mobility spell. And you also have this ability to just kind of like man fight people. You buy BKB, you man fight people in lane, or even like later in the game, you buy Satanic, you do a lot of damage. Like it's not just the question of jump on top of Sniper and then we kill him. Like that doesn't really happen anymore. You need to jump on top of Sniper, chain lock him down like fully, make sure he doesn't get BKB off, and make sure like you have BKB too, because if he's not locked down and you're not locked down, you're trying to do damage, he's just going to be pelting you with these headshots and just you're like permanently slowed and stunned, even though it's not really a stun, but it pretty much is a stun. Like it's insane. And then if this hero has Satanic on top of that, you might get this hero low, and then boom, he's right back up to full HP. So this hero is very viable, very good. I would say he's more of a carry. You don't really want to play this hero from the mid lane because you don't want to have a mid sniper and then like a carry that also wants to farm. It just feels really bad. I mean, you could get away with that in low MMRs, but not in like any real games. It's more of a carry, but it is pretty good. It's just a decent carry right now. A lot of pros, high MMR players are even playing it. Next, we have Razor. Razor, again, typical decent carry, has been viable for a long time. Refresher Ags, Refresher Link, Refresher BKB is always going to be good. So it's just good for the same reasons Razor is good. And then Bloodseeker's been on the rise. This hero's just decent all around. I kind of like him more as like an off-lane carry-ish kind of thing, not just like a straight carry, because if you're picking this hero as a carry and you don't have some other kind of like semi-carry, good carry on your team, it's not going to feel that great because it's not like the best scaling hero, but it can dominate lanes. It can be very good overall. I think one of the tipping points for this hero to put it like above B tier is to give this hero like a viable Ags, because right now this hero's Ags is absolutely probably the worst Ags in the game. Maybe not the worst. I think Magnus might have the worst Ags in the game, or another hero I'm not thinking about, but this hero's Ags is just unpurchasable. Like, you don't even want to purchase it. So that just makes the scaling way worse for the hero. It's not even really a viable path, where you see like a lot of these other heroes have Ags as a viable path to build, or like the main path, like Bristleback or these kinds of things, like Pudge, Ags is really a center focal point of the hero, and since you just don't have that on Bloodseeker, he's just okay, but he's not the best. Marcy, we have another one that's kind of like Dawnbreaker that's been introduced, so people are experimenting. I think this hero is more of a support because of the kit, with the mobility and the stuns, the really good laning, and the fact that you can apply your heal to yourself and somebody else. It just makes this hero more of a support. It's more popular in that way, but it can be played as core as well, and it can be a carry, and it can, you just buy BKB and Basher and stuff, and you can just absolutely obliterate people. So it is viable. It's just like average, is just okay. It's not the best. Where I think in some other positions you'll see this hero's a lot higher because it's just really OP right now. And then I think the last three here, these are all kind of like niche picks. Like, you have to be a Phantom Lancer player or a Terrorblade player or a Lone Druid player. And if you are, and you're a specialist in that, and you can pick them and have confidence with them, they're all pretty good right now. They're not the best, though. Terrorblade's decent laning. PL, scales really well against certain lineups, and Lone Druid can, play pretty fast. These kinds of things. They're all good, but they're not just like OP right now. You do have to be careful with these two heroes too, because Zeus has become a decent hero, like an actual viable, pickable hero in not only the mid lane, but support as well. So just be careful with these, that you're not getting, picking it into a Zeus or these kinds of things. So it can be countered, but they are pretty good. And then next we'll go on to C tier here. So C tier, we have Clinks. This is actually a hero it's the hero of the patch for me. I've been spamming Clinks. I like Clinks. I like how he plays. He's so bad in lane. Like, he's so low HP. Yes, he harasses okay, but it's really not that good to level 3, level 2 searing arrows. This hero has like 500 HP level 1. It's just absolutely terrible, and you'll just get absolutely run down. But if you get to that late game portion, if you get to level 20 and you have Daedalus and these kinds of things, you'll melt people. It's absolutely ridiculous. This hero does some of the most damage in the entire game. It's absolutely insane. Next, we have Tiny. Tiny's still popular, but just not as carry. More of a mid, more of a support. The carry version has kind of fallen off because, they nerfed a lot of those aspects. You just don't have that good, 15-minute level 15 timing like you used to. Those are all pushed back a little bit, so people aren't really focusing on Tiny carry. It's still viable, but just not that good. Same thing with like Wraith King, Medusa. They were good at one point, and they've slowly been nerfed over time. Now they're just falling off. They're just not that great. People aren't picking them that much, and they're just not too good right now. You can still pick them. You can still win, but they just have some matchup problems, and they're not that great. Next, we have Lifestealer. Lifestealer's kind of on the rise a little bit. He's been pretty bad ever since they reworked him and gave him 2 passives, but they've kind of been buffing him, so he is kind of on the rise, but I just don't know that he's ever going to be fully viable while he has these 2 passives. I just don't think you can have a hero these days where they just only have, they have 2 abilities that just do nothing but just sit there. I just don't know that you're able to have that. So until they change that, I don't know that he's going to be really above C, maybe B tier at the best. Next, we have Weaver. Decent all around. This hero, just as a carry, it's a little bit of a specialist hero. It's decent, but you have to know how to play it. Like, basically, if you're not Mason, I don't think it's very good. For Mason, it might be like A tier, but otherwise, just not that great. Nature's Prophet can be good. I just don't know if it's great as a carry. Like, maybe if you have like an Alchemist offlane or some other kind of semi-carry, almost like, if you're having a Bloodseeker and you're picking Bloodseeker carry, like, you can get away with it, but it's just not the best carry. It doesn't scale the best. It is annoying in all the ways that Nature's Prophet is annoying, but it might be better in another role. Then we have Naga Siren. I just don't think Naga Siren is as good as like Terrorblade. It's just okay. I mean, if you're good with Naga, you can play it as a specialist kind of thing, but just not the best. So next we have Slardar. Slardar is a very interesting one. This hero obviously was more of an off lane in the past, but I think a lot of people have been playing it with like this weird Mask of Madness build, like kind of permanent bashing people. Like the minus armor, the laning stage, all these things are really good with this hero, but it's not like the best scaling hero in the world. So I think it's kind of more picked because you have like Alchemist off lane, some of these other heroes that play off lane, like in the past you had Chaos Knight off lane. So like Nature's Prophet, Slardar, Bloodseeker, these heroes are good when you have more of like greedier other cores and you can play a little bit faster paced. You can be like a hero that's from carry, in the one position that doesn't just want to farm all game. So that's how you can play Slardar. I just don't know how good it really is. And then we have Arc Warden lastly here. It's just decent right now. You just have to be an Arc Warden player, but I don't see it like dominating, being picked all the time. So it's just okay, but it's just not, it doesn't really deserve any higher spot. And then lastly, for the normal tiers that aren't just absolutely poop tiers, the playable heroes that aren't just like, they're just not very good, but they're still playable, I guess. We have D tier, we have Luna. The problem with Luna is she's just not good at anything. She's not terrible at anything, but like there's everything she does, another hero does better. Heroes farm faster than her. They scale better than her. They do more damage generally than her. They just do everything a little bit better. Like if you're going to pick Luna, just pick another hero for whatever you want Luna to be. I mean, she's good all around. You can still pick her, but she's just not that great. Then PA. PA is still good late game, probably in lower MMR pubs. This hero's still good, but you just can't spend 25 minutes farming. Like, you just can't do that. Yes, this hero could get involved earlier, but I just don't know that you're like, are you really getting involved when you're against a bristleback alchemist? You know what I mean? Like, I guess you can get involved against an alchemist, but like, if you spent the first 25 minutes farming, and so did the alchemist, like the alchemist is popping out at 20 minutes with like 4 items, and you have, Battle Fury, Deso, and that's all you have. Like, it's okay, but not great, and like you just can't afford to do that. So that's why this hero's all the way down here, just not that great right now. Spectre hasn't been good for a while. It's like semi-viable, but just not very viable because, all the reasons that it's not been great recently. Like, the Ags is okay, but just not very good in general with the hero. The hero's been nerfed, and it's been pretty bad since it's been nerfed. Drow Ranger has kind of all the same problems as like Sniper, is kind of like Clinks, but just it doesn't have anything to solve that. Like, Clinks has Invis, Sniper has a lot of these things now that can help him when people get on top of him, but Drow, you just jump Drow and Drow's dead. Like, there's nothing that she really has to help with that, so it's the same thing. Shadow Fiend, I like Shadow Fiend. I think he's kind of fun to play. He's actually a decent carry, I think. He's not absolute poop tier, but just in general, he's not super viable. I mean, he does have very glaring problems, but if you can get a good game with him, you can actually deal insane damage. And he has a decent laning stage, so he's okay. He's just not that viable. Morphling, just too slow, very punishable. Obviously, he can be better in lower MMRs if you are good with him, but I wouldn't suggest like picking Morph because obviously you have to know how to play other heroes when you morph into them and these kinds of things. So he's viable for like smurfing or whatever, but he's just not good in the higher tiers because of the fast pace and how laning is just so important, these kinds of things. And then Ricky has just fallen off in general. Ricky just, Ricky doesn't farm very fast. His laning stage is okay, but he just doesn't do anything very well. Like, I guess you could still pick him. You could still like go for the diffusal and pick people off or whatever. I mean, that's okay, but I just don't think he's very good right now. I haven't seen people pick him very much at all. And then lastly, we have our F tier. And our F tier is filled with a bunch of bums that everyone hates. Actually, some people love these heroes, including me, but everyone just is really annoyed by these heroes a lot of times, and they're absolute crap right now, especially with the way the meta's changed. So Anti-Mage has like the same problem as, PA or some of these other heroes, but it's just worse. Like, you just can't spend this amount of time farming and then have no impact other than just like clicking R on somebody that has a lot of mana. It's just, that's all you do for like 25 minutes, and you're just not going to get away with that against like any of these heroes. And then even if you do farm for 30 minutes and you get fat, like, honestly, you're not doing very much. Like, are you really going to man fight a Dawnbreaker or even like a TA or like a Alchemist? Like, you're just not fighting in these heroes. They're just so much better. I think I don't know, something needs to change maybe about this hero to just get it away from that Battle Fury build. I know they've had some other builds in the past that maybe sort of have worked, but it's just not happening yet. Maybe something else needs to happen. I mean, they keep just buffing it, but maybe a change needs to be made. I don't know, because it seems like a weird hero. I mean, it's an enjoyable hero for a lot of people that like playing it, but just it's kind of whatever. And then Slark is just a dumpster tier, trash poop tier hero. This hero has been bad for so long. This hero's like Pudge. This hero's just like Pudge. Like, it gets picked a lot because people like playing it, and then everyone like hates playing against it. And then, every time it's decently good or like kind of half good, or even if it's like C tier, it gets insta nerfed because Ice Frog hates it, I guess. And so it got kind of small buffs, I guess, last patch, but then nerfed in its scaling. So it's terrible in lane. It doesn't farm quickly. It requires a lot of mana to farm. Then it doesn't scale very well. It's just dog shit. It's garbage. Don't pick Slark. It's terrible. And then next we have Troll Warlord. Like, this ultimate. What is this ultimate? This hero's never going to be good when it has this stupid ultimate. Like, oh, you just click R and then you can't control it. You can't, click items. You can't control your hero. I guess it's okay in theory. Like, the concept is kind of cool, but it just doesn't work. Just, like, get rid of it, honestly. Or just make it controllable. Honestly, I mean, at this point, if you just take the uncontrollability aspect away from the hero, I mean, does it really become S tier? Is it really OP? I mean, and if that's the case, just do it, and then for one patch it's really annoying, and then just nerf other parts of it, like nerf the attack speed, or just like take away the unkillable part. I don't know, just do something else with it. It's just never going to be a hero until they remove that part of the hero. Huskar was good, but they nerfed the regen, they nerfed the magic resistance, I think, and then they changed Armlet to like fix it back to where it was supposed to be draining more health, and that's just like it's just not viable anymore. This hero's poop tier. Gyro just does everything worse than like every other hero right now. It's just not good. And that's the same thing with Sven. Sven, it just doesn't farm fast enough, but doesn't do enough damage, but doesn't have good enough laning state. It just doesn't do anything really well. Like, it's just, these two heroes are like carries that do everything worse than everybody. It's not really that they like, they don't have like severe problems like Anti-Mage, Slark, or Troll, or even like Huskar, but you know, there's not this like core fundamental problem with the hero. It's just that everything they do is just worse than like every other hero that's good. So they're still like viable in some way. There's no fundamental problem with the hero. They just need like numbers buffs, I guess is what you could say. Then they could be viable. So that is the carry tier list. As always, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. If you think heroes should be higher, lower, these kinds of things. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. And join the Discord if you haven't already. We have a good community there. Go to my Patreon if you haven't, if you want coaching, or if you just want to see more videos like this into the future, consider supporting me there. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.